Alright, what's up guys? I had filmed like a bunch of clips, but it was just so spaced out. Like, I would film one day and then not again for like another couple days and just little stuff. I don't even remember what I had clips of anymore, so I'm just gonna start new with a quick update on everything I've done. All my body panels, except for my rear bumper because it needs a little bit more glass work, are primed. These are OEM front fenders. I have bolt-on flares that go on there, like cinched flares, I think. They bolt on. These are riv nuts or something like that they're called. Special tool you get for that. These are, what is this shit? The real shit, that's what they are. They suck. I forget the name. Oh, Duraflex skirts. Don't ever buy them, they suck. Well, this is a PS Deuce front bumper, brand new. It was only mounted once before, but all this was already prime black, but I decided to use gray to hopefully make the color a little bit lighter. These are B-Magic rear overs, like 30s. They were on the car too, they're already drilled and everything, so those got to go on. The biggest issue I've been having is the car won't start on its own, even when you try and jump it. So what I did was, I had AutoZone test my battery. It tested okay, but because of out of the kindness of their heart, they still gave me a brand new Optima. So I was like, let me try that. I tried the brand new Optima, still wouldn't start. So either my starter is like really a piece of shit and drawing way too much power, or the cables just are not up to the job, or cable I should say, because the power cable is an OEM Volvo cable. Out of my stepbrother's Volvo, he scrapped it, so I took the battery cable. It's a 2 gauge. Here you go. This one here. Pretty heavy. This is the ground. This is not a 2 gauge. It's like a weird one. I got it at like Home Depot when I did my SR swap because I just needed the battery cable that day, and that's the only place I could get one. So it's like not really that heavy of a gauge, but it's like real stiff, and I don't know, it's stupid. But I'm getting new cables today, 0 gauge, from back to front, one run. We're gonna see if it works. Hopefully it does. If not, I'm gonna try and switch the solenoids on the starter and then just switch starters if that doesn't work. But we have more updates as well. Made a lid to hold my air filter on, my 9-inch K&N in my scoop. Originally I tried to like glue a bolt in, but it wouldn't work. That way the top would just spin on. It ended up ripping out. So I actually made this tool last night. I'm gonna show you guys. It's here you go. You see it? It's just a wrench with an extra long handle, and I plasti dipped it so that way it can't mess up my expensive and beautiful hood scoop. And this will just reach in the scoop and then turn the nut on top. So yeah. I also plasti dipped the spacer for this, just the top edge, so that it'll actually grip. The rubberized part will help grip that. My heater core hoses are on, so I have heat in the car now, which was a big thing for me because I didn't have heat before, and I really wanted to have heat. So I got this hose at AutoZone, just bought it off, just looked at the shelf in the back and found it to go around the valve cover for that lower one. These are just straight shots. I use just fucking Lowe's brass fittings because to buy the fittings were like expensive. Like the Edelbrock was like $25 for a 90-degree fitting, so I ended up doing that. Had them hooked up wrong at first. They weren't flowing right because there is a way to have these flow wrong, because they're essentially meant to be return ports and they don't really get direct flow. So I had to switch it because they were both in those ports. Had to move my sensors around, but all that works now. I was having issues with it, kept like fuel starving. I thought it was out of fuel, but I know it isn't because I put 5 gallons of fresh premium in it. So I found my issue is my vent line was capped off. So took that out. It seems to be working better, but I think that when it was fuel starving, it messed up the tune. So what I'm going to do is delete the tune, reset my rev limiter to only be on the distributor and not the ECU of the fuel injection, and then let it retune itself. Also got a proper car belt. I had a lawnmower belt on here before. It didn't really fit in the pulleys, and this is a proper car belt. That lawnmower belt just shredded. So but yeah, enough of me talking. Oh yeah, one more thing actually. I don't think I showed you guys this. I got this plate in that I had made, so that looks sick, and it's actually got LEDs in there that I'm still wiring in, but they're gonna work soon. But enough of me talking for 5 minutes here. I got a couple of cool things to do today. So I got this long acre package. I had sold something on PayPal. I had $20 in my PayPal account, so I was like, screw it. We'll buy something that I've always wanted to put in my car. Now this, I mean, it's not necessary by any means, but I suggest you buy something like this if you plan on like driving your car hard. I do have gauges to monitor everything in my car, but this is a dummy light for 20 psi of fuel oil pressure. So if it dips below 20, this will light up right in the dash to let you know there's a problem. My oil pump on my SR20 blew, and I didn't even realize it for almost a mile of driving with no oil pump. So comes with a little fitting so you can actually run your gauge sender and this. So you could, you know, put this here or here and then still run your gauge sender. Comes with wires. I have no idea how to hook them up. I'll have to look that up. And it comes with the light. And I also got some new brake leader screws because one of mine is stripped. You have to use vice grips to get it out. So I'm going to put these in as well and re-bleed my brakes again. But that's it. I'm going to start working on that stuff, and I'll update you guys when all that gets done. I get my new battery cables in, and hopefully it works. Alright, so I got my battery cables in the car. All brand new, 0 gauge from back to front. Here they are. These things are some meaty cables. Fucking huge. I haven't hooked up my switch yet because I want to make sure that it all works fine without the switch in there, and then test and see if the switch will be okay. But it still doesn't start with all this. The negative does have to be trimmed. I left some excess. You can see it up there by the cage. That's so that the I have excess to run to the switch, and I'll cut it and cut out the slack there. But as you can see, 2 brand new 0 gauge down to the starter. 1 goes to the back of the block, and I have a jumper that goes to the body up here, so there's a ground to the chassis as well. And it's still not working, so I would say it's a little bit better, a little bit, but basically the same thing. It's not starting, so I'm gonna put this up in the air tonight. I'm gonna test this other starter I have, and I'm gonna take off that starter on the car and test it. And if there's an issue with it, I'm gonna try and take some parts off this one because it's the wrong bolt pattern, and put it on that starter, and hopefully that fixes it, and I'll be able to drive this thing around town. Alright, so I took my starter apart and found out my problem. This little rod is out of place now. This basically gets hit by the solenoid and kicks the gear, kicks this out so it engages the starter. And that gear was not, like this piece is like just, I guess because it's an eBay starter, poor quality control and design. It just was like flopping around there. Like that thing has like no real pivot point, so unless you hit it with a lot of juice, it wasn't like getting enough throw to move the gear out like it should. So that was pretty much the entire problem, so I just need to get a new starter. Alright, so I want to share a little bit of information with you guys. I did my research last night because I really wanted to get the car on the road as soon as possible. I hate waiting for parts. And a lot of the aftermarket mini starters that are like decent and won't kick the bed are pretty pricey. So I found out that the early 90s or late 90s, early 2000s pickup trucks actually had gear reduction mini starters. So here you go, you can get this at AutoZone, and it has a 1-year warranty, so if next drift season I'm in Englishtown and this kicks out, I can drive 10 minutes up the road and get a brand new one. It's for the 168 tooth flywheel. It's got the staggered bolt pattern, and it's supposed to be a good one. A lot of people say they run these on high compression, big blocks, small blocks, everything, so hopefully it works. It's $130. $30 of that is the core, so I gave them one of those shitty eBay starters I had and they took it, so I'm gonna put this in and hopefully it works. The only thing is, make sure you buy like your own bolts because these are actually metric. So it comes with metric mounting bolts, and like these are 13s, not 9/16 or 1/2 inch. And this is probably an 8mm by the looks of it. But just so you know, that's a little bit different. I'm gonna throw this in the car and hopefully this thing will fire up. Alright, so my new starter's in and it actually works beautifully, but of course, that cannot be the end of the road. My fuel injection unit took a shit. It will not work. It needs a whole new Phytech unit. It blew a fuse, and then after the fuse blew, it just wouldn't turn on. Like I put a new fuse in it, and it has nothing. So the starter does work though. It turns it over. It needs a couple shims. I gotta go buy those because they're different from my old shims because that has the staggered bolt pattern. The other one had the straight because it was like dual drilled, but I had to make a new wire for this. It's a little bit too short, but there's a new power wire. So it's kind of beat. I did all this work today so I could drive it, and I can't. So my day's pretty much ruined now. Pretty much beat on driving it. I gotta call Summit and talk to them. Hopefully they'll work with me and send me a new unit. What's up, guys? It's the next day. Nothing but more bad luck. I can't put this sender in because it hits the intake manifold. So I have to get like a something to space it up so it goes above the intake manifold. Not a big deal. I already went out today though to get the sanding stuff, so I didn't even think about it. This might better work. I have to try it. My Phytech's all off, my fuel lines are off and all that, so I can send that in tomorrow. And about the only win I had this weekend, I'm gonna show you guys now because I just finished it. So I got my plate, and now I got this little switch up here. Hit this switch. I've been working on this, so it lights it all up, and you can like change the patterns and whatnot. And it's pretty ricey, to be honest. But I think it's cool. You can make it like flash and shit. The only bad thing is you can see the LEDs, but I don't really care. It's a quick project I threw together. So I thought it'd be cool. And I think it came out pretty sick. Alright, what's up, guys? I'm gonna make this the end of this video. My Phytech has been sent out. Hopefully they get back to me and say they can fix it. Hopefully it's warranted. I doubt it because I shortened the coolant sensor wires to kind of clean up the wiring because they were like 1.5 foot long loom and it needed to literally be like 6 inches. So I cut and shortened it. Technically that probably voids the warranty, even though it has nothing to do with why it failed. It ran fine like that. I'm sure that's what they're gonna claim. So, you know, it is what it is. You gotta pay to play. If I gotta pay to fix it, I gotta pay to fix it. But I got a couple more things done. I got my sensor in for my warning light, and I got my master cylinder shield on, which actually doesn't really shield that much heat because the header heat's gonna come up, but it's required, so it's there. I'm probably gonna refinish it before it comes out next spring. But my car is completely sanded and ready. All I have to do is get my back bumper back and paint that, and then when I get my Phytech back, I'm gonna clean the engine bay because it's covered in dust and it's disgusting and I hate it. Like my headers are all like gray looking. But that's it for this video, guys. Next time hopefully my car will be running and driving again. And yeah, that's it.